What's up, everybody? Hope you are having a great one today. Super excited to review this fella. It is the Misty Midnight Jack the Ripper from Ringtoys. I just recently got it. I attempted to do a unboxing yesterday, but I am a huge Jack the Ripper fan, and I kind of rambled for a while, and it ended up being like a 45 minute to an hour long lecture about Jack the Ripper, which I don't think many of you wanted. So I figured we would just start fresh for today. He's already out of the box, as you can see, but we'll take a little bit of a look at him. I'll kind of go over the pros, the cons, and then I'll geek out a little bit at the end. Now, a couple quick things about this guy. He does come in two different versions. There is the standard, which is just everything that you see here, as well as a whole bunch of stuff in that case, and then a deluxe version, which comes with a really cool display base. It kind of looks like the side of a building from Whitechapel. I ended up getting the deluxe version. I haven't actually opened the display yet, but there are a few little things I'll mention. It is really, really big, so that might turn a few people away from it. It's probably around 18, 19 inches tall once it's all put together, so it's definitely not going to fit on like one of the Detolfs or Billy cabinets, any of the typical display shelves most people use. And it's pretty hefty, so you're not going to want to put it on top of anything glass. So you really kind of got to find a special spot for it, but it is a very cool looking display. It's kind of got a Gothamish look, so you can always do something with Batman if you wanted to go that route instead. As for the figure himself, I absolutely love it. I am definitely a bit biased, just because Jack has kind of been a fascination of mine for a very, very long time. But I do think they did a fantastic job with the figure as a whole. Without much more than that, let's go ahead and get cracking right into it. Now, the box for him is pretty straightforward and basic. I'm going to try and slide this out here. Hopefully, and mission success. Now, one thing that they did, which I absolutely loved, I'm a sucker for brown shipper boxes. So, you get the main one, which I'm just going to kind of put there because it's not too exciting. And then I cracked that open, and lo and behold, inside was another brown shipper box. This one actually has the cool little logo on it, and then inside of that was the actual box itself. Now, one thing that is neat about this one is it's got kind of the magnetic sides, so you just kind of clip open both ends, and you can take the whole little cover sheet off. I'll kind of give you a quick look. Now, it's not easy to see. I'm hoping that you can actually pick them up pretty well. The sides of this, you do have some of the different tools and accessories that he comes with. But they're really, really lightly drawn in there, so you don't really notice them unless it's at just the right angle. It's kind of cool, just a nice little effect that they added in there. Inside, you've got the Misty Midnight Jack the Ripper, and then you do have a little box art insert for it as well, which we will go ahead and pop right here. Now, I actually think this is pretty awesome just because it shows the two different head sculpts that you get. You get the kind of scary one, which I like to call Slicey Jack, and then you get the not so scary one that I have dubbed Spicy Jack. Now, Spicy Jack I actually like a little bit more myself. It's probably going to be the one I end up going with, but most of the displays that I've seen have had that with them, so I figure if you're looking into getting the figure, you might want to see what the other one looks like, so that's why I've got that one on him now. And the figure itself, I'm going to move this carefully. As you can see, he does come with a Fancy Lad's top hat, but it does not stay on very well at all, so I just kind of had it balancing there. But we can get a nice up-close look at this guy here. So this head sculpt I am actually completely sold on once I got him and was able to take a look really kind of up close and see him. Honestly, compared to that, it's not quite the same look, which is fine. I think this actually looks a little bit more appealing to me, so I do like this head sculpt a little more than I thought I would. It is kind of neat. I definitely am still going to go with the more spicy version here, which we can take a look at. This one I just kind of like. It's a little more animated out. It's kind of a little cute and boyish, which is not a normal thing for Jack the Ripper, almost a little more effeminate. Well, I guess a lot more effeminate, to be honest, but that's cool. I actually think it kind of looks neater. There isn't any real, as you can see, the skin tones are drastically different, but all of the flesh on the figure is covered, so you don't have to worry about that. Either one's going to look fine on them. You could also just, use the head sculpt and kit bash a completely different figure together if you wanted. But I'll probably end up displaying that one. As for the articulation of him, very, very good for the most part. He does have some movement restriction just from the jacket, but the jacket is actually fully removable. And then he's got a really nice kind of fancy tuxedo type suit underneath it. He does have this cool little apron on here, which it's kind of grown on me. It's got a little bit of fake blood spatter on it, which I like. These kind of cool Hellraiser-ish hooks here, which honestly, it makes me think of Pinhead, so I'm happy with that, just for that reason alone. You can, of course, take the apron and the belt off, and then he's just got sort of this nice fancy tux underneath with a cute little vest and all of that good stuff. I'm going to basically leave him as is as far as the wardrobe's concerned. Now, the jacket does have a wire in quite a bit of it. There's one like right here, so you can get a little movement. And then mostly throughout here on the bottom there's one. So you do have the ability to kind of sculpt it a little. It's not, fully wired or anything like that, but it'll definitely let you give it a little bit more flair. You can kind of puff it out a little if you wanted. Or you can just kind of scrunch it up and have it hang there. So it does give you some good kind of mobility and kind of change up options there, especially if you're posing him in any special way beyond, like a standard museum pose. So that I thought was really cool. Very good leg movement for the most part. You can get a pretty good range of motion. The pants are not very restrictive at all. The pants and inner clothing, all of that fabric's honestly really good. I don't think you're going to have too much problem with it in the long run. I do think you might end up with some creasing issues on the actual jacket, especially if you've got him bent at any of the joints. It's tough to say. I could just see that the way the fabric is, I could easily see it kind of wearing off and thinning out in the elbows and stuff over a period of time. The leather on this belt and then also on the little case that he's got, I can basically guarantee will heal in a couple of years. I think that's pretty consistent with most of the figures. You might lose a button at some point. They're on there pretty good, but it is just glued on there, so you may want to keep mind of those in case one does fall off, get it reattached right away. But other than that, pretty fantastic. I do like the shoes that they gave him. They've got some blood spatter on them, which I think is kind of neat. Now, one issue that I did have with mine, and I am kind of stupid at times, so bear with me. This might just be something I can easily fix, but I played around with it for a while and haven't quite figured it out. So he's got kind of the standard ball joint. You can swivel it, but it's got really kind of a weird angle of pivot there, and I can't really rotate the foot well enough to get him basically the straight forward and back motion on it. Now it's really noticeable on this one because the only way I can actually bend it seems to be like that. And I've tried playing around with it a little bit. So far, no luck. Again, so kind of just don't really have the type of movement that I would expect an ankle to have. It's probably just me being dumb, to be honest. I probably just need to pop the foot off or mess with the socks or something, which he does actually have little socks. Yay. So I might play around with that a bit more and see if I can get it to work. But honestly, that's my only gripe with it. And at the end of the day, he's going to be standing, so I'm not overly concerned. It does have a whole lot of motion up there, double joints in the elbows and in the knees. So you're pretty good for moving him around however you see fit. Go ahead and pop him right there. I do just have the head balancing so that I could change it out easily. Like I said, I'm keeping the spicy one on there. Now the top hat that he comes with is kind of cool, but it just really doesn't stay on him at all. You could probably use like a sticky tack if you wanted to keep it on there. You can move around this little monocle, but you're not able to remove it, which is kind of a bummer. It would be fun to give it to one of them as a little patch. I mean, I guess you could, in theory, cut it and have fun, but not something I'm going to do. And it does have a little leatherish strap on it. This actually might be plastic. I think it's the same leather type material, so that'll probably peel a little bit down the road as well. But you can get stuff like a CLR, you know, something like that, shoe polish repair, all sorts of leather repair kits, that sort of thing will work on it. And now he does come with two really cool little gauntlets that I found fantastic. This one, you're going to notice a little white dot there. I did drop this fella, as I am often, unfortunately, inclined to do, and that little guy broke off. It was just a little gear. I do still have the gear, so I'll easily be able to get it reattached. But he's got this cool sort of, reminds me of Assassin's Creed. It's kind of this nice little hidden blade gauntlet. Very steampunk, which is kind of what they were going for. Does have a really neat looking face etched right in there, which I thought was pretty fantastic. And it's surprisingly sharp for being plastic. I was impressed by that. But it's definitely a cool little accessory for him. I'll probably never put it on him, to be honest. You would need to pop the hand off, not that that's a problem, but just not really my cup of tea as far as the accessories go. I like him more the standard, just kind of creepy knife-wielding maniac. He also comes with this, which is like a little cattle prod type device. Honestly, it's really cool. The detail they did on it's great. It's got a bunch of really cool little gears and stuff in there. These are actually little springs, so they've got some pliability to them. And then this, of course, you can move around in and out, all of that good stuff. Leather straps to hold it on. I, again, kind of worry about those peeling over time, but that's okay. He does come with a whole bunch of different hands. Now, interestingly enough, he only comes with 2 right hands and then 6 left hands. So he can hold basically every tool that he comes with lefty, and then he can do a few little things with the right hands. But for the most part, any of the accessories and stuff, you're going to go left-handed with him. Not that that's a big deal. Now, as for the actual cool accessories that he comes with and the goods, one thing I really, really liked and was absolutely blown away by is this. So he comes with this really cool steampunky briefcase. It's got a fantastic little blood drip right up in there. Honestly, all of the detailing on it is quite amazing. Other than, like I said, I'm kind of worried about these little strap guys over time, especially if you're constantly opening and closing it. I could just really easily see it, peeling right there. One thing that amazes me about this, and I'm hoping it'll pick up, it has such a fun sound when it opens, and it's just a natural creak, but I love it. Here we go. Hopefully it'll do it, otherwise I'm going to seem like an idiot. So satisfactory. I just love it. It's got... oh yeah, so nice. So it's got that cool little creak there that I absolutely love, and I have loaded it up with a whole bunch of his goodies. He does have a cool Plague Doctor mask, which honestly they just threw in there to kind of give it the steampunk vibe, I think. Not really something that one would normally associate with Jack, which is kind of a strange addition, but again, they're going steampunk, so the more stuff the better. I just kind of tucked it in there because it fit nicely. Got a whole bunch of syringes. I have one of those pulled out so we can take a closer look at it. Knife, some scissors, really cool hacksaw. I think this is supposed to be underneath it a tool for curettage, like removing flesh and stuff like that from bone. But it's not quite like any that I've seen before. Eek. So I am not 100% if that's what they were going for. I'm going to guess it is, but really couldn't quite tell you. Good enough for me. Bloop. All right. The other fun stuff that he has, like I said, I've got one of the syringes pulled out, but then he also came with this cool little pair of pliers here. And he's got, this kind of reminds me of a flaying knife for fishing, so I thought that was kind of a fun little touch for him. Definitely a neat one there. Now the syringe, it's kind of hard to see. Hopefully it'll focus on it. There we go. So it does have some blood kind of on the tip, which I thought was neat. The needle obviously is not going to be 1/6 scale because that would be kind of impossible, but you can definitely tell what it's supposed to be. He does have a hand that holds it pretty much perfectly, which I thought was cool. Like I said, most of the accessories and stuff, this one I think is the pen. Yeah, that's for the pen. There we go. Most of the accessories and stuff you're going to be able to get into one of his left hands, and they all fit pretty much perfectly, so he can go ahead and inject whatever he wants into people with that, or pull the blood out, I guess. Sort of depends on what you're going for at that point. But I thought that was quite cool. Really neat that they did that. All of the hands I was also very impressed with. They've got this cool kind of steampunky hand guard, I don't know what you would call it, but the paint on them is pretty universal across the board, and that kind of impressed me. The consistency with each one was really quite remarkable, so no matter what you switch out to, you're going to be fine in that regard. And then the final couple things that he came with, which I thought were pretty neat. It's got a nice little newspaper clipping here. Now this is a little tangent that'll go on my geekdom. Madman who murdered 9 women. The 9's incorrect. Most people will say Jack the Ripper killed 5. I could rant about that for a lot longer. I will save that for another day. But definitely 9 is incorrect. At most, you would typically say 5. There might be a couple after it, but most people consider the 5th murder the final one of Jack. So having the 9 is a little misleading there, but that's quite all right. The one other one that he comes with paper-wise that I was very impressed by, this is a copy of the From Hell letter. Now, to be honest, they did absolutely outstanding with copying. I mean, it honestly looks very much like the actual one, even down to a lot of the ink splotching, so I was really impressed by that. One other thing I will geek out on in regards to this, I am surprised that they went with the From Hell letter. It did get a little extra fame just because you've got the amazing comic by Alan Moore and the movie that came from that. But this one actually doesn't really mention a name anywhere on it as far as who it's from. The letter that I think they should have gone with and wish that they would have gone with would have been one of the Dear Boss letter. That's where he actually coined the name Jack the Ripper. And then there was also a follow-up postcard to that, the Saucy Jack postcard. And I think it would have been kind of neat if they incorporated both of those. But this one's definitely the more kind of common one. And the other thing that's neat as far as why they included this is this letter is famous for coming with part of a kidney. So you do get this really gross half kidney, which I just thought was pretty neat. So that's kind of a fun little addition. Now they believed it came from the 4th victim. There was one night where there was a double murder, and they think that this came from the 4th one. I don't think they ever actually proved that. I really don't know if there'd be any way to, but definitely an interesting thing that they included. I thought that was kind of fun. I mean, if you're going to have the From Hell letter, might as well have the kidney that came with it. And then he also has a nice little jar, which you can technically store that kidney inside if you so choose, which I thought that was also kind of a neat little touch. That way he can keep it preserved for later. And that also does fit into that wonderful little briefcase back there. So overall, really genuinely pleased with the figure. There are some nerdy things that I wish they would have done. Like I had mentioned, I think they should have included one of the Jack the Ripper letters. I think that would have been a good fit for him. And then the other thing that honestly I might end up doing myself is I think they should have gone with a leather apron. One of Jack's early nicknames was Leather Apron, to give a shortish history of that. When they first started investigating the case, one of the first suspects that they had was a guy named Leather Apron, or nicknamed Leather Apron, that had been sort of torturing and abusing prostitutes in the area for almost a year, and basically taking money from them. So that was kind of one of their first suspects. They later arrested him, and he had alibis for the actual murders, so they're pretty sure it's not one and the same person. But just because that Leather Apron title is often associated with Jacky Boy here, I wish they kind of would have made that leather. I just think that would have been a nice little touch. Really, that's pretty much my only two major gripes in that regard, which are relatively small, nerdy complaints. As a whole, I absolutely love this thing. Display-wise, he is pretty unique. There's not a whole lot of stuff that he's gonna necessarily match with. He does fit into a few different things. Like I said, you could probably, go the Gotham route, make your own Gotham by Gaslight scene if you wanted to, which is probably what I'll do. I was also thinking it'd be fun to get like a Hannibal Lecter and maybe have a little Cannibal's Dinner. That could be kind of a nice little display there as well. And in all honesty, with the top hat and kind of the brown coat and the steampunk vibe, it kind of gives me a Mal Reynolds feel from Firefly, so I could always have them posing off in a duel. And of course, since you do get this beautiful spicy boy here, which really has kind of an anime look to it, I might just throw this on it and plop it on my anime shelf and be good to go from there. But overall, if you were looking at the figure and you were thinking about getting him, both me and the toy will give it a thumbs up. Whoops. Quick trade. Definitely worth getting. I don't regret it by any means. I would certainly buy it again if I had a little time machine and could go back and do it over. If you're not really into Jack or not really collecting horror, probably not the one for you. It's certainly a little bit of an outlier for most people's collections, but if it is one you like, I think you'll be pretty surprised and pretty happy with it as a whole.